Happen to be a man. That's interesting. Okay. All right. Well,
Yeah,
thank you.
yes, he happens to be a woman because I'm no telling what that person is thinking, while they're examining you. So, I mean, I have a woman doctor now, but gynecologist is a male. But, just generally speaking, no, or hypothetically speaking, I would change. I would actually change because that doctor is going home getting on.
Okay, we're going to put you on hold. We're going to see what everybody else says.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, caller, welcome to the show.
Hey, Pastor guy, thanks for letting me call back.
Well, first you got to ask the question of the day. And if your doctor...
I'm going to answer.
Okay.
But I'm going to tell you a story about it. And then, look here, Pastor guy. Can I serenade some Mother Jones before I go? But I'm answering your question. I would not change doctor. If there was a good doctor, the homosexual and stuff, I wouldn't change doctor. It was a good doctor. Now, let me tell you this story. I had my first prostate exam. First time I ever had a prostate exam. It was a Korean doctor, Pastor guy. That's what that dude said. I ain't know nothing about no prostate.
What'd he say?
He put that glove on and told me, he said, I want my finger back. Do you think I'm going to walk around the rest of my life with your finger? You know what I'm saying? Amen. Check it out, man. Can I just serenade to my lady Mother Jones?
Only on the True Radio. Go ahead, serenade. I want to hear this too.
All right. All I know is that I want that girl.
Oh, have mercy.
Let's move on.
Go and play the medical thing, man.
A little fact about some of the most common drugs Americans take. From antibiotics to heart medicine to 80% of the key ingredients used to make them come from overseas, mainly from China.
China's stated aim is to become the pharmacy to the world.
Rosemary Gibson is the author of China RX. How much of our drug supply is controlled by China?
We're so dependent on China that if they shut the door on sending medicines to us, our hospitals would shut down within a couple of months.
In the case of some drugs, like antibiotics, China has a total stranglehold.
We can't make penicillin anymore. The last penicillin plant in the United States closed in 2004.
In March, a prominent Chinese economist suggested his country's control of the market could be used to send a message. If exports are reduced, he said, the medical systems of some Western countries will not run well.
Basically, we've outsourced our entire industry to China. That is a strategic vulnerability in and of itself.
John Adams is a retired brigadier general. How are pharmaceuticals turned into weapons of war?
Pharmaceuticals are necessary for our warfighters. They're necessary for our population to remain healthy, to cure diseases. If those are either toxic or they're not available, we're going to get sick and we will die.
The U.S. and China are not at war, but there are tensions over trade. China's state-run paper said this week there's little chance the government would deliberately harm innocent Americans by cutting off the flow of antibiotics.
Well, trust is everything. And do we trust?
There have already been problems with contamination. In 2008, there were dozens of deaths tied to batches of the blood thinner heparin. And in the past year, more than 50 recalls of some of the most popular blood pressure medicines, contaminated in China and India with chemicals linked to cancer. How did we get here? How did this happen?
We got here because because we looked at the next quarter's profits.
The pressure for low-cost drugs pushed manufacturing to China.
We have to reinvest in making medicines here in the United States.
An expensive proposition that could drive drug prices up.
For commodities like oil and food, we would never put all of our production, all of our eggs in one basket in China. We shouldn't be doing that with our medicines.
Stephanie, the fact that we rely on China for drugs that Americans take and need every day is alarming. What can be done?
Well, the only way to regain control, Lester, is to move manufacturing back to the U.S. But experts tell us that private companies aren't going to do that on their own. They're going to need the federal government's help. And Lester, that means money.
Now that's what y'all need to be concerned about. 901-452-3094 or 901-324-7490. Got a caller?
Yes, but I had to say this. That is crazy.
Ain't it?
You gonna send we getting all our medicine over there,
Well,
and we can't produce none?
Well, Q, make me think about when me and you were volunteering in the jail, and we noticed that all the blankets, all the soap, all the tissue, all the toothpaste, everything they had in there was made in China.
And you think about this, me and my wife were talking. You know, if you order something from Wish, where did it come from?
China.
So you got Wish, Groupon, and all that stuff.
I know that. And then they used to call the ordering stuff and talking about ain't nobody traveling over there. You still get their packages in. I just thought about that. But I see these Amazon and all these other delivery trucks still running, and they got these packages. And I can tell you in China, 4X in China and 4X in America, they ain't the same thing. I ordered a 4X chick surfing from China, and I couldn't get it past my shoulder. Go ahead, send a call.
We got the driver.
Oh, Lord. Hello, caller. Welcome to the show.
Well, Pastor, EAU mercenary will be taking my body then.
Wow.
The driver won't be driving no more. I'll be going to the Heavenly Father. Praise the Lord.
And Ray, you made me think about something. As a believer, at the moment that you fear death, you're not ready to live. Man, I'm not going to what the God decides to tell me to go somewhere. And then when God decides to tell me to go, Lord, I'm ready. What's the problem? What's the problem?
And Pastor, that's the good thing in my business back in the hospital. I love when I heard believers say, hey, I'm ready.
Yeah.
All right.
To be absent from the body, to be present with the Lord. So, that ain't nothing but a shell of a soul going to sleep. My spirit goes to God, who will, at the proper time, reconnect the two together. And I walk this earth forever. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Amen.
I'll make sure my oldest daughter, I'm going to make sure this weekend when I talk to her, put on there, make sure you take me to EH mortuary so your mama will know where I'm at if she come home and she can't find me.
Hey, Ray.
Huh?
I was glad they had a guy that called John Show said that I need to be put off the radio for talking all this Christian conservative garbage. What you think about that?
I was dying laughing because if I didn't stay in my daughter's butt, Pastor, I made them go to church. I made them go to South Beach when they was in college. I made them go to college and sign that thing, and they both got pregnant in their junior and sophomore year. I look back at it. Both my one daughter, all her children goes to a charter school in Newark, New Jersey. I'm thinking, she got her child going to the dead school, but I had to set aside that little brat. You know what I'm saying?
Go on, tell them how you really feel.
Pay for all those education. And think about this, Pastor. Every time we went on vacation, I made them go to church. I always found a church to go to when we were on vacation.
Well, Ray, let me ask you this. Because there seems to be a movement of going along with people saying that you're a traitor and a sellout when you supporting Donald Trump and the Republicans. Are you a traitor and a sellout? They can just say anything. You got black people are running around saying, they just black people, liberals period, that Donald Trump causing coronavirus and anything that happens, man, and if a plane falls from the sky, Donald Trump, I never seen no insanity like this in my life. What bothers me is that a lot of these people proclaim to be believers. They proclaim to be Christians. And when you tell them that these people are passing laws that go against the word of God, that you're putting these children in school that are dumbing them down. Yeah, it's black and brown children they got in there, because they're not going to do their children like that. And they fighting for the right to let them do it to them. Well,
that's why I said, Pastor, it's my fault. Children, girls, I didn't get my education. I love a booty call before I married your mama. Now I got Jesus, and I'm doing the right thing. I adopted y'all. I do the right thing in Christ. And remember I told you, I asked my wife for a divorce 2 years ago, remember? I didn't hesitate.
Yeah, you need to stop that though, Ray. Nobody fucking around and marry no blind man.
That's what I'm saying, Pastor. That's what I said. I look back at it when I finally we got our act together. It took us 9 months to go to marriage stage, but you know what? We happier.
Yeah. Anytime you put God at the head of your relationship, you're gonna be happier. I gotta move on. Q telling me I got 2 more callers.
The last thing, my 5 sister-in-laws that is all divorced.
Mm-hmm.
We going to Disney World March 12th. I said, where y'all going?
Bye, man. Somebody gonna beat the skin off. Tell them to, Q. Hello, caller. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Pastor Guy, how you doing today?
I'm good, sister. How are you?
I'm doing fine. I would like to make a comment on some of the medications that we from China.
Okay.
They may say there was some blood pressure medicine that was like 50 of them.
I don't know the number, but they say over 90% of our medications, period, that we get from China.
50 medications that were being delayed.
Oh, I don't know the actual number.
Yeah, but that's what I heard. But what I'm telling you is that is true, because my medicine comes from China, and what I take for my blood pressure is losartan, and they say it's been on back order for a while.
So now let me ask you a question.
Yes.
So when your medicine comes off back order, and you do get it from China, that's the problem. Even if she changes it, with 90% of our medicines coming from China, whatever she changes it to, it's going to come from China too.
Well, you know what, Pastor Guy? I am a believer. I just pray and just keep taking it.
I'm just going to say, at the end of the day, all that stuff they throwing out there, man, the virus is airborne. You can't stop the air stuff. You can't stop the birds from flying. If it's going to travel, if you're going to get it, it's just like the flu. You're going to get it. And then over 80% of the people that get the coronavirus, they're not dying. I mean, so y'all don't have this kind of hysteria about the flu. What's the problem?
See, I don't even take the flu shot.
I don't either.
In 40 years.
And see, I don't either, and I don't worry about the flu killing me, and the flu does kill people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I haven't had the flu shot in about 40 years.
So why would I be running out here buying face masks and all this stuff here because somebody say coronavirus? And once the news media said, they gaslighted from there, and people are having hysteria where people are scared to come out the house. It's going to get to the point, because they say when you wear the face mask that you really stopping yourself from giving it to other people. It's going to get to the point that if somebody see you walk around with one of these face masks, they're going to start locking the door on you until you get away from here.
They sure will.
Because they dish it out hysteria to test to see how do people respond. We like mice in a cage, and they sit back observing us.
But then, too, they have to be aware of that some people do wear them because of their illness.
Yeah, that's fine, and that's understandable, but my thing is the hysteria. Don't let these people keep putting all this false fear on you, because it's making people get irrational. When people get irrational, right, they get dangerous.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, I'm not even bothered about it. They have to change their medicine. Even if they don't, I'm just going to take my medicine and say, I'm healed in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ.
Amen, my sister. Stay blessed.
Oh, you too. Thank you. Oh, Pastor Gap.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, you made a comment yesterday about, I think it was yesterday, about elementary schools holding back the second graders. I read.
Mm-hmm.
I experienced that almost 40 years ago with my son. He's 40 years old now. He was in the second grade at Bridgeway.
Mm-hmm.
And he could not read, and his teacher was going to allow him to pass.
Right.
Because he wouldn't be with his friends.
Right.
I won't call her name out on the radio.
I know, but you held him back. But now let me ask you this.
Yes, I did. I held him back, and it entered him into when it was stated at that time. They just started this reading comprehension program.
25% of a third grade or second grade class, that's 3 out of 4 students. Why would I even want to send my child back to you for another year for you to do it again? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, but she was going to pass them, and I told her no, she was not.
Do you like the public schools?
Now, no, I don't. My granddaughter is in, and I was telling my daughter that she needs to change her over to a charter school for my grandson when he's graduated now.
Right. It makes a difference, don't it? It makes a difference, don't it?
It does.
It really does. I got to roll. Q gonna get me. Love you. Stay blessed.
Bye-bye.
Hello, caller. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Pastor God.
Hey.
I just want to point something out about the coronavirus.
Wait, is it light brown?
No.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I did some research a few days ago and came across some things that were disturbing. Local hospitals across the country that are able to perform tests on people that they believe have the coronavirus, they are required by the CDC to send those samples or those tests from those people to Atlanta, okay? Because there's a bunch of bureaucratic red tape and procedural red tape that is happening with this virus. And the article that I read stated that these local hospitals, they would be able to implement their own tests if only the CDC would allow them to do so. So what happens is they have to send these to Atlanta. Now, here's the scenario. Considering that the coronavirus can live on surfaces for up to 9 days, okay, it can live on surfaces. We're talking plastic, countertops, whatever you want to name it, okay? So the thing is that worries me is, let's say you have a FedEx driver who goes to one of these local hospitals and he gets a sample from, the lab, the hospital lab, and that bag was not disinfected. Now that FedEx driver, he handles that bag with his bare hands, and then he throws it in with a bunch of other packages. He's contaminated himself, and he's contaminated a bunch of packages, okay? Now, let's just say that, these packages come through the Memphis hub. Now, other human hands have touched these packages, and that's what is so bothering, is that the CDC is not acting quick enough
to do. Okay, David, so what would you have the CDC to do?
The CDC needs to cut the bureaucratic red tape, and if a hospital says, we have a test that can confirm this virus, okay, then fine, don't send us the sample, go ahead and treat the patient. The CDC is determining who actually qualifies as being a contagious person when the hospital itself already knows, look, this person is showing signs of this virus.
Well, didn't you just say that this virus gets on the tabletops, on the doorknobs, on the door handles, on the window, whatever you touch, right?
Right. It can survive up to 9 days.
Up to 9 days.
Up to 9 days.
That means that no matter what the CDC or anybody else does, it's unavoidable.
Unavoidable in circumstances.
Can the CDC stop the flu?
Oh, no. Don't get me wrong. I'm with you. Look, my whole thing is I'm of faith. And that is, I'm not going to let the media hype scare me. I'm not going to let anything scare me. But what I'm saying is that we need to implement a disinfection, okay?
What disinfection? Do they have a disinfection for the flu? They tell you, okay, you want to stop it, wash your hands. They've been washing their hands anyway. Okay, well, wash it a little bit longer. Okay, wash your hands. If you have sniffles or colds or anything, you put a face mask on so you can't give it to anybody else. Okay, they've been doing that already and stuff. And at the end of the day, when you get through, it's a virus. Viruses are airborne. Viruses, they stay on tables, they stay on doorknobs, they stay on windows, they're airborne. At the end of the day, nothing you can do can stop a virus. Thank God that the people that get it, over 80% of the people that have caught the coronavirus have not died. It's a form of the flu.
Exactly, and that's why I called you, was to say that now that people have discovered that the way that this virus can survive and how it can be transmitted not just from human to human, but by someone touching a package or something else, that's what's creating the hysteria. And I'm with you. No, I'm not freaking out. And I'm not.
Yeah, I didn't say it because the news, and each day they're going to figure out more and more of a way for people to get hysterical, to get fearful, and at the end of the day, it's the flu. It's just the flu.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, I think that's what has happened is that people are discovering things on their own, which makes them fearful that, okay, we're not being told the whole truth about this. And we sure as the heck know that China is not going to tell the truth.
We don't know that. We just know we tell ourselves that.
Right. So, that's the thing. Look, wash your hands, okay? Wash your face, okay? And just
man, I ain't washing my hands, I ain't gonna wash my face, and if I drop them on the ground, I'm gonna pick it up and eat it. I'm a cowboy. I gotta go, bye. Hello, caller.
We ain't got no caller.
Oh, yeah,
I ain't fool with you no more.
I am not running scared. I'm not gonna live like I've been living. I woke up this morning, I told God thank you. I started my conversation with some godly people. I've been spending my day doing godly work, talking to God, helping who I can help, witnessing wherever I can. Come here doing the radio show, give me the best God advice I can give you. When I leave here, I might go to my brother's house and kick it with them for a while, or me and Q might go play the game and stuff. When we play the game and stuff, guess what? We could actually play it and talk about God when we playing it and getting ready for tomorrow and stuff, preparing for God. That's what I'm going to do. That's what I've been doing. That's what I'm going to do.
Okay, I got to play something.
Okay.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
Donald J. Trump. 901-452-3094 or 901-324-7490. As I go, if you want to spend your weekend worrying about coronavirus and all that, that's fine. Then I forgot to play the sleep video. Remind me play that when we come back in on Monday, Q. That's some important information. That people that are dealing with PTSD.
How long is the video?
About 4 minutes.
I don't know. We only have 3.
Yeah, I'll play a little bit up before we go off.
Okay.
2 minutes of that way they can get a clue.
All animals sleep. Birds, fish, dogs, humans, all need to sleep. Sleep is important to the body's ability to rejuvenate. While we're sleeping, the body repairs cells, healing from injury or illness. Sleep is especially important for our brains. Some research suggests that while we sleep, the brain flushes out waste products in the cells that build up while we're awake. It helps us wake up with a clean start to the day.
So how do we fall asleep?
Located in the center of your brain is the pineal gland. When it gets dark and bedtime, this gland sends out a hormone known as melatonin. This causes your body to relax and get ready for sleep. Now, sleep is made up of several cycles, and each cycle is made up of several stages. The first stage happens as you're falling asleep. That may take a few minutes, and you may be aware of what's happening around you. In the next stage, our body temperature drops, and you no longer know what's going on. Your heart rate and breathing become very regular. As you fall into the next called non-rapid eye movement sleep. About every 90 to 120 minutes, you move into the REM, or rapid eye movement sleep stage. It's called this because during this time, your eyes move rapidly and randomly side to side. An electrocephalogram, or an EEG, tracks the brain waves when your brain moves into REM and all the stages of sleep. And though you can apparently dream in other stages, you do your most memorable and vivid dreaming in REM sleep. And when you're in REM sleep, your brain waves look more like they do when you're awake. Your breathing becomes more rapid and your skeletal muscles become paralyzed. Sleep scientists believe that so you can't accidentally get up and hurt yourself by acting out your dreams. REM sleep is tied to learning and development. Babies spend 50% of their sleep in REM and 50% in stage 3 sleep. Scientists who study sleep think REM sleep is tied to how our brains store memories and help us solve problems. We seem to have more REM sleep when we've been in unusual situations that require learning lots of new tasks.
And I'll definitely play the rest of that Monday. That's important. God bless, I love you. Look, if you like the show, support the show. Go to AndreGuy.com, click on Revelation Christian Center, and if you give us the resources, we're going to do the work. Somebody got to speak up for God, and I have no problem with that somebody being us. Want to catch our worship services? Go to Revelation Christian Center, House of Prayer, YouTube, and you can get the spiritual experience of what God is doing with us at the Truth Radio Show in Revelation Christian Center. God bless, I love you. Back with your money. Go worship God this week. Instead of being scared of coronavirus, go worship the Lord and see that you got protection.
And read your Bible.
Read your Bible, man.
2012's KQPM was granted a license